I think that's what I'm supposed to do to run this show. I'm not Jess, apparently, like obviously, but
man,
I'm here doing it. I'm doing it anyway.
Fuck it, we're doing it live. Let's
Doing
go.
it live. Welcome to tonight's show, everybody. It's Wednesday. You never know what's going to go on a Wednesday. I'm back,
Right.
and I am here with the inimitable co-host Lou.
Yes.
How are you tonight?
Hey, man, I'm glad to see you back. The prodigal son returns. He's been gone for a few weeks, ladies and gentlemen. We got him back.
Yeah, I was deep in the trenches of strep throat and possibly other stuff. I don't know. It was bad. It was terrible. But I'm better. It was like, and I was sick, and then after the pain had subsided, and I was no longer like dying every time I tried to swallow. Like it didn't feel like there was someone with like spiked knuckles dragging down my throat when I swallowed. After that, it was just so much like mucus, and my tonsils were so swollen that it was hard to talk. So I'd be like talking, and I did a Thursday show where I was like, you can hear it in my voice, and then I have to like duck off and spit into the trash. It was bad. But I'm here. I'm good. Jess is taking a break tonight, as far as we know.
Yeah.
He checked in earlier and said that he might not be feeling up to the stream tonight, and Gabe also sick tonight. So that's the two of us, and I didn't know what to name this or what we were gonna do, so I just put Battle Royale, Lou versus Rye.
Okay. Right.
So
cool with that. Let's do it.
So we're gonna battle it out over, I don't know.
I got nothing.
Anyway, you know, the one place where you don't have to battle it out is over at instocktrades.com, where you can get all your comics and manga and all kinds of cool stuff for huge discounts, great discounts, even further discounts in their red tag sales, which happen some semi-regularly. Fantastic shipping, packaging, etc. Loyalty discounts to add 2% off, and free shipping within the US after $50. They have international shipping available as well, and great customer service. And of course, every month we give away a $50 gift card courtesy of instocktrades.com on the last Monday show every month that y'all do that one.
Yeah, but it's been crazy. We've kind of shifted around because we're like, we'll be damned if the vultures end up getting the gift card. You know, the vultures are the people that show up only once a month just for the gift card, and we're like, we're not. We're kind of shifting it around, and we're randomizing it.
Okay.
So, for example, on Monday we gave away March's gift card because 2 people didn't claim it back to back. People did not claim it, so we're like, all right, we're just gonna give it away. Next week, we may or may not be giving away this month's gift card. We'll have to wait and see what happens. It's kind of a spur of the moment type of thing.
Yeah, so you never know, I guess, at this point when we're going to do the gift cards. So just like come in, and all of a sudden maybe there's a gift card coming.
And it's not fair to people like William Lee, James Abel, you know, Kane, all those people that are here on a weekly basis and a nightly basis instead of the other Mexican guys channel. You know, it's really cool that you guys are here and support us.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. Hello, I'm doing well. Lou, how are you doing?
I'm okay. You know, but you know, it's kind of funny you mentioned the whole you've been sick, because my wife went through a bit of a cold this past few days, and so did my youngest.
It's terrible.
Yeah, they went through a little bit of a cold, you know, but they fought through it. They're good. Everybody's good in the house now. We're kind of coming out on the other side. I'm surprised I haven't gotten sick. I've got a little tickle in my throat though, so I'm like, oh shit, I hope not. Well, I'm drinking all the emergency tonight.
Yeah, that's what I usually would do. Like, and I try to prevent it because I always think that it's like allergies, and so I'm like taking allergy medicine, and then like it just kicks me down, and I'm like, oh, this is not allergies. I saw this. Did you see that Donnie Cates was answering questions and stuff?
You know, I'm not too active on social media, but I pop into Twitter every once in a while just to kind of get my fill. Yeah, I did see that, actually. It was on my feed today. I hope this is the start of his comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Lord knows it's been 2 years, and by all accounts, it sounds like it's been a pretty rough 2 to 3 years for the poor guy. So I'm hoping he does, because he was. I'm pretty certain he was the one that was supposed to kick off this Ultimate Universe thing.
Someone
But then
asked
what happened, huh?
Someone did ask him about that. They
Yeah.
were asking about what your pitch was, or what his pitch was, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some, I don't know if it was another creator or just someone else who was like, why didn't you ever reach back out to me or respond to me? And his response was just, I had brain damage.
You're not wrong. You know, that is actually the best response. Poor guy did end up forgetting months of his life. It's a miracle by all accounts that he's doing as well as he is. Hey, so everybody's kind of been on this kick, and I've asked this before, but I haven't asked you. Have you seen the X-Men 97? Are you caught up?
My man,
Are you caught up?
Yes.
Okay, so I am not caught up, but I don't give a shit at this point.
Okay.
Because they ruined episode 5 for me. Some jackass online was like, oh yeah, this character dies. I'm like, yeah, that would have been a nice surprise to wake up and watch that. So I just gave up. I'm like, okay, I'm not caught up. I got 2 questions for you. One, because you're the X-Men guy out of all of us. Yeah. I think you're a bigger X-Men guy than Omar is, honestly. You're the X-Men guy out of all of us. Huh?
Those are big words.
I think you are. I wanted to ask you 2 things. One, how do you feel about the show? And 2, do you think Beau DeMaio will be brought back with the success of the show?
Number 1, love it. Number 2, I don't know. It's I can't make a guess right now, because there's really been nothing. Like, yeah. He was let go, and there was no word on his side. There was no word on Disney's side about exactly what happened. There's just been basically the general rumblings of A, he was hard to work with, and B, Disney didn't like some of the stuff on his OnlyFans. But I don't know what the full truth there is, because what if there was actually something a lot more serious,
right?
And they're not talking about it yet.
Possible.
I don't know. It could be something different. At this point, if it's not something bigger, it's not something super serious, then I would hope that they would look at this and be like, okay, like, he knows what he's doing. Let's bring him back in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the main thing. Pay the man so he doesn't need to have an OnlyFans page. Unless he just does it for fun. Because I have a couple friends who don't need to, but they enjoy doing it. So anyway. But yeah, I at this point, additional information withstanding, I would love to see them bring him back, not just to continue with the series, but to possibly head on some of the live action stuff. Okay. But with the caveat that I don't want to see live action just be another series of movies, because I think that the show is proving to people now, a lot of people who are not like super into the X-Men beforehand, like newer fans, it's showing them that what makes the X-Men work is this long-form soap opera type drama. Yeah. And having all this time for the character interactions to pan out and stuff like that. I think that if anything, they should be a little bit experimental with the format for X-Men media in the MCU and do a high-budget, long-form television drama. Yeah. Multiple seasons, and if they want, use movies for the like big events that would happen.
Yeah, so I think so they have 2 seasons in the can, right? We know that. We know they've got 2 seasons already, and I think they got approved for a 3rd one already. I think the situation with Beau DeMaio, he's been actually very, very hush-hush about it. He hasn't badmouthed Disney. He's actually been pretty professional about the whole thing. He posted this long thing about episode 5, which was really actually kind of moving and really cool, about how the whole thing was built up for it and stuff like that. I think because of the fact that it depends. It depends on, we don't know the whole story. It depends on the whole story, and I think depending on what it is, it might just be that Disney's not comfortable with the whole OnlyFans thing. So they're like, look, dude, just scrub your pages of it and we'll look the other way because they needed this. This is a huge hit for Marvel. Marvel hasn't been hitting like they used to in a very long time. So this was a big home run that they needed. And I could totally see them going, we're sorry. Do you want to come back and help write with season 3? Because we could certainly use it. Not only that, but the X-Men is big enough that, let's say they do a spin-off series. Instead of jumping right into 4 or 5 X-Men movies, they go, let's do an Xavier School. Yeah, Gen V beat them to the punch with that. That's the only thing, is that the boys kind of beat them to the punch. And they won't get as graphic as Gen V, but why don't we do an Xavier School, a show about that, and that'll be 1 or 2 seasons, and then we build up some of these side characters, and they could be in the movies, and then that'll tie into that, because there's so many X-Men that you could do that, and you don't necessarily have to have Cyclops, or God forbid you don't have Wolverine in a show, which is one of the things that I really enjoy about this, is that Wolverine, it could have been so easy for the X-Men 97 to be, let's just focus on Wolverine and friends.
Yep.
But it's not that. They really are giving a lot of these side characters their moments, and it's really cool. I didn't think we were going to get Storm and the Morlocks. I did not expect that storyline where she loses her powers.
Yeah, there's a lot, and like I introduced someone to it recently who has like zero exposure, and I was on Twitter talking with Peter from Crushing Crisis, and I was saying I think that this series could be like the original seasons of the cartoon were for us growing up. It could be that for a new generation of fans, whether they be younger or people who just didn't get into it before. And paying attention to Twitter, I would say that that's right. And Peter's response, he said, basically, I don't know if someone who's never had any exposure to the X-Men before would be into it or not, like just jumping on with the first episode of 97. And so I had someone with absolutely zero, did not know who a single character was. I mean, ground zero, if you could go negative, they were in the negative of X-Men knowledge, they binged the first 5 episodes of 97.
Yeah.
Fucking loved it so much that they watched every single movie within the next week. That's are now going back and watching from season 1, episode 1. And they're going to go through all that and then already told me I'm going to start reading the comics after I catch up with this.
So that's really cool.
How much this impacted just this one person. And I've seen it with a lot of other people who have no knowledge or extremely little knowledge of the characters. Because I've been just reading a bunch of Twitter threads for fun about this stuff. And there's a ton of people who are just like astonished. And they're like, is this what the comics are like? And all the comic fans are like, yeah,
it's a giant soap opera.
It's a huge soap opera. This is there. Like people are like, are the X-Men this messy in the comics? And I'm like, yeah. That's exactly how I described the X-Men.
Go back and read those old Chris Claremont issues from the 70s and the 90s. That it's all soap opera stuff.
Yeah,
that's really what it is. And I think they capture that feel on this show better than I think most other shows. It's long. It's a soap opera. The X-Men animated series is a soap opera for nerds. That's what it is, and we enjoy it. It's really good. I am really shocked at how fucking good this show turned out to be. Because I know Gio and I, we watched that first trailer and we were like, I don't know, man. The animation on this does not look great, but it works. I do hope they give them a bit more of a budget. That way they could clean it up a little bit more for the following seasons, which I don't see why you wouldn't, because the show is clearly a hit. So I'm excited for I'm excited for where the rest of this goes, because they have hinted at apparently bringing back some of those older classic cartoons that we grew up with and kind of modernizing them a little bit. Will we get a Spider-Man series? you
Man,
know, Spider-Man 90, whatever it is, kind of bringing back that cast.
give me a continuation of X-Men Evolution. Shit, I want
Oh my god,
to finish that series.
dude, that Scarlet Witch did something for me when I was a kid.
Dude, I think a lot of the girls in that series did.
Oh my god. Oh, that and Rogue.
Rogue.
I had a very strong goth phase as a child, as a teenager, because of that show.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I was looking back at like some of the scenes from that show earlier, like talking about it to the person who's like watching all the movies and stuff. And I was like, whoo boy. remembering remembering that series. It was so good. It was so good. I just I think that they're doing wonderful work with this, and like the fact that it's so approachable to a new audience. Like people who don't like, you don't have to have watched the 5 seasons prior. You can go right in and like it gives you everything you need to know, and anything you don't know yet, like it's a very easy like Wikipedia or Google search away. And it's just it's not letting up any of the maturity. It's not, you know, trying to play around and spoon feed you with anything. Like it's playing it all out like very, very well. And it also it hits a lot of the right notes. Like I've been noticing a lot of people having the opinions about certain characters that I'm like, yep, that's what you need to be feeling right now. Like opinions about like Cyclops and stuff, where I'm like, yep, that's what you should be feeling right now. And there's certain, you know, someone that'll be coming in episodes that I think we're gonna see some opinions, and I cannot wait to see what opinions those bring.
I love the fact that the show for modern audiences gave Cyclops his balls back. We're like, no, Cyclops is the leader of the X-Men for a reason. He's been like this for a very long time. It's kind of because of the movies and pop culture that he's always kind of been sidetracked in favor of Wolverine and stuff like that. No, man, look, Cyclops kicks ass in this series. He is from the rip, from the first episode. He jumps out of the plane without a parachute and he's pulsar beams, and he's mopping dudes up in that warehouse. I'm like, somebody is clearly a Cyclops fan on this writer's room. What I do think, if there is a critique to be had, I do think they do condense a lot and move things very quickly. I felt it the most in episode 3, where we get the reveal of Madeline Pryor, we get the whole Goblin Queen thing. Goblin Queen? Yeah. We get the Goblin Queen thing, we get the birth of Cable, and then Cable gets sent to the future and stuff. I'm like, holy shit, this feels like 4 or 5 episodes just crammed into one.
That was the one episode, especially I rewatched it. I was like, holy crap, like there's so much that happens in such a small amount of time. But I think like in retrospect, I was fine with it because of where it brought us, and like a lot of that stuff wasn't super, I don't know, it didn't need to be expanded on. But here's, I'm certified Cyclops hater #1 since like since the moment I read like the everything like with Maddie in the comics. I was like, fuck this guy. Like, so I'm seeing the opinions on him change on Twitter, and there's more people like calling out his messy activities and stuff. Even though it's not the exact same, because he doesn't leave Maddie and Nathan in the show to go be with Jean, there's still some like, this guy's terrible. There's so many things that he does where it's just like, are you kidding me? Why would you? But here's the thing is, a lot of people are seeing, and I don't know, maybe I can, especially after today's episode, I can see this probably happening. But a lot of people are saying they're seeing hints, like those who know the comics, hints of Bendis Uncanny X-Men Cyclops, like post AVX, of him being this more revolutionary type character.
I liked him like that though. I kind of liked him like that.
Yeah, that's in my opinion the best Cyclops there is.
Yeah.
But Cyclops leaving his wife and newborn baby to go be with his newly resurrected girlfriend, fuck that guy. Like he deserved everything that happened to him during Inferno. Fuck that.
Wait till he meets Emma Frost, because Emma Frost.
The moment, like in episode, was it 5, where Scott is having the like.
I haven't seen episode 5. I know what happens for the most part, but
okay,
it's fine. Go for it.
Let me put up, just in case, I'm gonna put up the spoiler thing. Because I don't know where the hell is the thing. I don't know how everything's organized on this.
It's a mess.
Like there's food talk and let's talk Spanish.
Yep, we use that a lot.
Oh, I think it's under banners.
It might be under there.
There we go. Okay. So episode 5, there's a scene where Cyclops is speaking to, you believe initially that it's Jean, about like having a baby and all that stuff. And pretty soon, like, you find out it's not Jean, because Jean busts into the door and it's like, what's going on? And
shit.
And so it's actually like Scott having a psychic conversation with Maddie. And so Jean is pissed, and she's like, how long has this been going on? And like they weren't just talking, like they was smooching. So yeah, so Jean's like, how long has this shit been going on? And Scott's like, it's complicated, it's been like a month, I was just checking in with her. And I'm like, okay, my guy, like, what the hell?
Oh,
but it's like, it's understandable in this instance, because it's like that Maddie was the woman he was married to. Maddie is the one he has a baby with.
Okay, all right.
Jean was not the one.
Hold up. Pause on this. Wait, just hold that thought. Okay, you're dating somebody, right? They have a twin. You see where I'm going with this before I even say what I'm going. You know, bump uglies. You make out with the twin that you are not dating. Do you see the problem there?
But the problem is that the twin believed that she was the original.
Oh my god! This is restless bullshit.
So it's not that simple. Like it's not a straight up, like, Maddie is having to adjust to the fact that she was never actually Jean, but she did have those memories from the past year that they were together. And she did go through the entire pregnancy and the childbirth. Meanwhile, Jean, none of those memories are actually hers.
Yeah.
But she's just like, it's like if you were with twin A, and then you didn't know that there was a twin B. And all of a sudden you're still with twin A, but you find out that you were actually with twin B for the past at least a year. And then twin A comes back and is like, yo, what the fuck? And you were like, neither one of us knew that there was a twin B. Why are you getting mad at me? Like that, it's messy. But anyway, the point of me saying this is because they're in a council on Genosha, and Maddie like comes out of her like psychic conversation with Scott, and she's just sitting there, and like everyone looks at her and she like responds like, oh, sorry, my mind was elsewhere, or whatever she says. And Emma is looking at her like, knows exactly what was going on.
No.
So I guarantee we're gonna be getting some messy psychic adultery going on with et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
oh god, man. No, did Jean give him a pass? Like, did they talk it out? Like,
I mean, they were going to talk about it, but like, she's definitely pissed off. And then a wild sentinel came, and you know, the master
Scott has never been happier to have a sentinel show up at their doorstep. Like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank you, God.
Gee, 16 million mutants dead. Thank God.
Thank God. Wait, what? Oh, Genosha. Okay, they do the Genosha storyline?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. it's so they have a really unique advantage for this show, is that they have 30 years, almost 30 years of comics that they can pull from, and they can condense, they can expand, they can change things, so they can really work stuff out. Will we get the whole No More Mutants, House of Mutants? That alone could be a whole season, House of Mutants. So that could be fun.
I'm curious if they do it, how they would do it, because I mean, they can cut it and make it a mutant specific storyline, or because otherwise, I mean, like, yes, Avengers characters are in that universe and we know that, but if we just like put together that team and the only reason for their existence is just for them to like fight, and then all of a sudden Scarlet Witch be like, no more mutants, that'd be kind of, so I think they'd have to like shift things around quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it would, I think if they want to do that, they'd have to delay it a little bit. Like, it can't just be like in season 2, because you already have one mass genocide happen with Genosha, and then it would just be like, oh, we're doing the same thing again, and like now we're decimating them, and there's only a couple hundred. Cool.
Okay.
Something better to do.
What were we saying? Right. So it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see where they play out and how things would lay out, because they're moving pretty fast and loose with these stories, and I'm kind of curious what they're going to compress more than anything else, because we already saw them compress a huge amount of stuff just in episode 3. The whole Madeline Pryor storyline, they took out what didn't need to be, what didn't work, to make it work, I think. So I don't know.
Okay, so you haven't seen, I don't want to like spoil too much for episode 6, so whatever you want to do.
All right, man. So episode 6, go for it. Tell me, what do you think?
Okay, let me pull back up the so episode 6, we get the second part of Life Death, so the Storm and Forge stuff takes up half of the episode.
Okay.
So episode 4 was half of the episode being Storm and Forge, and then the other, the Mojo World stuff. So episode 6, the other half of that, as you know, the Storm and Forge stuff wraps itself up. So we're gonna have Storm back with her powers and stuff. The other half is Xavier with the Shi'ar.
Okay.
Because as we left off on the original series, season 5, the last thing that happens, like, Xavier is shot, but he's taken by the Shi'ar for them to, like, I guess, try to revive him.
Okay.
And essentially, and this is something that I was pretty sure was true anyway, he never died, and he's been gone for a year, and we see him for this instance of this in whatever's happening here. Like, the Shi'ar are fighting against the Kree for a moment, and Xavier is trying to set up this relationship with Lilandra.
Okay.
And he's wanting to get married to her and all that kind of stuff. And as he like has the conversation with Lilandra and like is talking with the Shi'ar and stuff, they go through all these things, and then he winds up having like a psychic vision of Gambit dying, and that's how he learns what has happened on Earth and to the mutants and at Genosha. And so he decides, like, I have to go back to Earth.
Okay.
And this is the point where I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot of the opinions on Xavier, the public opinion turn on Xavier, and I'm hoping that the show reflects that as well. Like, what I'm hoping, I'm not saying I think this is going to happen, but I'm hoping is happening is that when Xavier returns to Earth after this, that they're not giving him the warm welcome that he might want or
Okay.
hope. And I'm hoping that like Cyclops winds up feeling betrayed. The fact that like Xavier set up this, he's been gone for like a year. He's let them believe for this entire time that he's dead. He had no intent to go back, and he's let them all mourn his death for
Kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked. So he's let them mourn his death for the past year while all this stuff is going on, and then finally like it's just, oh well, something this bad had to happen for you to decide that you're going to come back.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping happens next. And the stuff with Storm also learns what happened. She got her powers back. It was a really great scene. She got the classic her classic look back from the original appearance in Giant Size.
Mm-hmm.
So she no longer has the Jim Lee, and she no longer has the mohawk. She's got the full head of hair, and she has the original like black costume with the cape and stuff.
I like the mohawk look.
I do too. I saw people excited that she got her full head of hair back. I'm like, come on, guys! Like, the mohawk's great. The mohawk looked great.
Badass, man. I prefer that look to her. So my thinking is, okay. Have you read a lot of the Krakoa stuff?
I read up to X of Swords,
Okay.
and then and that was not. I didn't drop it for any particular reason, but I dropped it. I didn't drop. I just fell off, and I haven't picked back up again. But now that Krakoa is ending, it feels like a good point for me to like fill in the gaps and then continue on.
Okay, because it seemed the whole Krakoa thing started out a little bit weird for me. It seemed Cyclops was acting a little bit weird, and some of the characters were a little bit like I get every writer brings their own interpretation to it. Xavier was definitely out of pocket, and I'm kind of wondering how that kind of plays into it in the overall story. This is probably more of a Jess thing because I know Jess has been keeping up with it. Is so you being more of an X-Men guy. Historically, is Xavier kind of a dick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
This is, I want to say that's I didn't stop reading it because it stagnated. I stopped reading it because I got super duper busy, and I was reading like 40 to 50 issues of comics like from all publishers every week. And I hit a wall in what I was capable of doing, trying to keep up with that and everything else in my life. And I couldn't keep up anymore. So I stopped reading. And it just so happened that it was the last part of X of Swords that I stopped on. But it wasn't just X, it was everything. Like I was reading everything coming out from Marvel and DC and a lot of stuff from Image and all other publishers, but I dropped everything at the same time. So it had nothing to do with the quality of stories. I really liked X of Swords because it felt like a lot of the older X-Men stories, like from to me it felt like some of the sillier things that would happen in Claremont's era, in Claremont's X-Men, New Mutants, and Excalibur. There's a lot of sillier things like that. So anyway, I want to clarify, it's not anything against the storylines there. What were you saying? Sorry.
Yeah, because I think
Xavier.
Yeah, I think the movies and pop culture kind of paints Xavier as this pretty straightforward and almost Martin Luther King-esque figure. Versus what the reality of it is Xavier's kind of a jerk.
Absolutely, 100%. He's not a good person at all.
Yeah, he's done some fucked up shit in the past.
So an example that I actually was talking about today on TikTok was about Vulcan, Gabriel Summers.
Okay.
The history with Gabriel Summers, and the reason I brought it up is because Vulcan, Gabriel Summers, appears as a cameo in today's episode of X-Men.
Oh, they're bringing him in. Okay.
It's when I say cameo, it's like he's there for an instant. He's helping the Shi'ar fight against the Kree, and then he's That's it. It's just like one little instant. But if you know, hey, that's Vulcan. So he's there. And so I brought it up on TikTok. I was talking about it, and someone commented like, he has another brother. And so I made a whole like kind of history video. So Brubaker in the mid 2000s wrote a storyline called Deadly Genesis.
Oh my God, Jesus, yeah. Even Brubaker hated his run on X-Men.
So in Deadly Genesis,
hasn't he gone on record saying, "Yeah, I don't like writing team books" or something like that?
I don't remember what he said about that, but Brubaker's I think that was his first X-Men book.
Yeah.
And Brubaker, essentially, for anyone who's unaware of what happens in that storyline, he basically said, you know what happened in Giant Size X-Men, and this is the other side of the story that you've never heard, which is that before Xavier put together that like international team and sent the international team of X-Men out to rescue the original team from Krakoa, he had another small team, a 4-member team that he sent out to rescue them first. And that team consisted of Gabriel Summers as well as Vulcan and as well as Darwin and a couple of other characters, and they all died seemingly.
Jesus.
So yeah, they died, and Xavier was like, crap, and he can't let people know about this. So he wipes everyone's mind. He wipes everyone's mind of the existence of this entire event.
Whoopsie. Well, looks like old Xavier really stepped in at this time.
Yeah. I think Deadly Genesis is a really fun idea, but it's definitely one of those stories that paints out how crappy Xavier actually is. So he wipes everyone's mind, and then basically the events of House of M caused this power surge to go through, and Vulcan had like been in a comatose state in space because in order to survive, he absorbed the energy of all of his partners during that mission, and he like stays alive in a comatose state, but this surge of power woke him up, and he's like, I need revenge. So he goes back to Earth to get revenge on Xavier for doing this, and then they fight Vulcan. He's like a god. He's so powerful. Like he kills Banshee, defeats the X-Men a couple times. They finally get rid of him, and he goes up into space and becomes there's a whole series, Emperor Vulcan. He becomes the emperor of the I think he becomes like the high top dog of the Shi'ar and stuff in that. But it's really it leads towards a lot of things that eventually lead into War of Kings. And that's just one example of Xavier being a jerk. He also wiped Wolverine's mind, because originally Wolverine was sent to the X-Mansion to assassinate Xavier, and he wiped his mind and rewrote him to think that he was going to the X-Mansion to join the X-Men.
Oh my God.
And that's why Logan joins the X-Men in the first place.
I'm seeing a pattern here of things. Remember in Hawksbox, he wiped what's-her-face's memory every time.
Moira?
Yeah. So one of the most brilliant revelations out of House of X Powers of 10 is Moira McTaggart, who was a character for years that was just a B-list character. And nobody really knew anything. Okay, she's just a normal human being. Turns out she's a mutant, and a very powerful mutant, one that's lived multiple lives. And every time she dies, it pretty much resets, right? Isn't that how it goes? If she dies, it resets?
Yeah, it's been a minute since I read it, but it's something like that.
I forgot exactly how her power set works. But if she dies, things reset or something along those lines, and she's born again. And does she have the memories of her previous life? I think so, but Xavier wipes them.
That's his thing. It's just he wipes. If there's someone who has some sort of memory that he finds undesirable, he takes care of it. He wipes it.
It's pretty messed up.
He does it a lot. He also is early issue, like one of the earliest issues, if not the first. He admitted to having feelings for Jean, and Jean is like a child in that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It was worse when he admitted the same, I believe, in the Ultimate books, because he was older in the Ultimate books. Either way, Xavier's terrible, and I'm hoping that the series winds up pushing us into the direction where people like popularly start seeing that. Because like you said, the movies kind of make him really kosher.
Yeah, they clean
and
him up.
yeah, having rewatched all the movies recently, like there's only a couple of scenes like that they make him out to be negative in any way, and it's only in the newest stuff. Like I think there's a scene in Dark Phoenix, which I just watched for the first time. Terrible movie, but there's a scene where Beast like rips into Xavier for being an asshole.
I think the strongest of the X-Men films. Well, there was X2. X2 was really good. I think the strongest of the X films have been the last few ones with James McAvoy, who plays an Xavier that isn't certain about his role. Days of Future Past to me is second best X-Men film. If you want to count Logan, I think Logan is the best one. Mainly because it portrays a Charles Xavier who's young, who still doesn't have it together, who has self-doubt, who tried the whole school thing. It bombed for him. And because of that, he's pretty much just given up on everything. And that as a character is far more interesting than this holier-than-thou character that we get in the previous X-Men movies, the first three. And that's kind of what I like about it. I can't believe you would watch that X-Men movie and do that to yourself. I mean, but hold on, pause. So wait, you made this person go through Wolverine Origins?
They didn't watch any of the 3 Wolverine movies. They'd already seen Logan. And I said, you don't have to go through.
Don't do that to yourself.
You don't want to.
Don't do that to yourself. Wolverine, I still stand that Wolverine's actually a good movie, though.
Yeah, I really like that one too, but they just didn't really care much about Wolverine in general. So
okay.
So I was like, well, we don't have to watch that one. I just showed the end credits scene where you get Professor X and Magneto back. But other than that, it was fun going back and watching everything again, because it's been a while since I've seen some of those movies, and I hadn't watched either Dark Phoenix or New Mutants.
Ooh.
Them are not good. So, but I did have an appreciation of a lot of like things that were not done really great in those movies. Now, like looking back at them, I'm like, man, Storm was terrible in these movies. Like,
yeah, Halle Berry.
You know what I learned was that apparently Angela Bassett was up for the role.
What?
I know, and now I'm sitting here like, y'all chose wrong. Like, I'm sorry. Halle Berry's great and all, but like Angela Bassett as
oh god, oh my god, they chose horribly. Why would you do that?
I think it's just Halle Berry having more star power at the time, but Angela Bassett would have brought the gravity. Like she has no presence like as Storm in the like Halle Berry has no presence as Storm in those movies.
No,
she's just fine, but she's not Storm. Like she doesn't have the gravity. She doesn't have the regal sense behind the character. And when you watch the cartoons and read the comics, you know, she's coming out and like talking to nature and like invoking the wind and the thunder and all this stuff. And it goes so long to like do so much for her character. And the only line that anyone remembers from Halle Berry is what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning.
Oh god. And that's a Joss Whedon line. Joss Whedon made that line in his X-Men run. Yeah, she doesn't have any and that's kind of the issue with some of these older X-Men movies. If you watch them, it's the Wolverine show, right? That's kind of the general gist of it. It's obvious he's the most popular character, so they kind of focused most of the storyline around them and everything like that. Which I mean, it is kind of a nice reveal towards the end of that first movie where Magneto basically says, "Why do you think you're the most important person here?" And you get that revelation of, oh, he was actually looking for Rogue, not Wolverine in that story.
So. I know Wolverine's the fan favorite, but if you like start watching those movies in the lens of someone who doesn't care about Wolverine, like you start noticing like why was he the focus? Like aside from just fan favoritism, Like he very commonly, outside of, I think X2 is the only one where his plot really matters.
Mm-hmm.
Another problem in those movies, just thinking about this stuff, in X-Men 3, where Jean is supposed to be like the villain, like she is the antagonistic force, she's literally just standing in the background while Magneto continues to do everything. Like the big scene at the end, it's just Magneto hurling cars and Pyro blowing them up. Like, why do you have the Dark Phoenix standing aside like she's a goon, like, you know, like a little an underling to Magneto?
Yeah, it's. I think there's a certain level of nostalgia for those movies because it goes back to, hey, we didn't have the MCU, we didn't have all this cool stuff that we have now, so we kind of took what we got and we enjoyed it. You know, I like actually Ben Affleck's Daredevil movie, the director's cut.
Yeah.
I don't think the director's cut is that terrible. There is a guilty pleasure part of me that like Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider movies.
Yeah,
a small smidge of myself. I'm like, these are pretty terrible. But you know what?
there's some fun action.
You know, you get Nicolas Cage that's screaming at the top of his lungs, going crazy. I'm all here for it. I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan. I mean, geez. Where do you see them taking the series? Let's ballpark in the next season. Do you think we start getting? Because, like I said, they're moving fast and loose. So, do you think we start kind of leaning into stuff like, well, they're still firmly in a lot of the '90s stuff. Do you see them start kind of leaning into more of the 2000s era X-Men comics? Maybe we eventually get into what's that storyline where they split them in half? It was Jason Aaron. Schism. Do we start seeing Schism? Do we see House of M?
I think that if I was to make a guess, I think there's going to be a schism of sorts by the end of this season. I think we might see Bastion as the main villain going into the last part of this season, and I think that with Professor Xavier returning, we're probably going to see some sort of split. I think narratively that would make sense to like have the team split amongst those who might be angry with Xavier for the choices that he had made and those who are loyal to him.
Yeah.
But as far as what the storylines would be, I think that one, it's a little harder for me to pinpoint what I think is going to happen, but I feel we could, like you said earlier, we have another like 30 years worth of storylines that they're able to pull from that they didn't have previously. And I think that they could possibly do some version of Onslaught.
Wow. Okay.
Especially having Xavier coming back, utilizing him in some interesting way like that.
Yeah.
Some version of the Onslaught storyline. But I think also a good contender that we should expect in the next couple seasons would be doing something with like the Messiah complex arc. I don't know how directly, but something dealing with Messiah complex and the second coming and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I think X-Men as a property is probably the most exciting that it's been in a very long time to the general populace. I mean, I think they did the smart thing because Marvel could have easily rushed out an X-Men movie, an X-Men TV show, an X-Men whatever, as soon as they got the rights to it. But they kind of let the Fox stuff kind of die out, and now it seems like this year we're getting a lot of cool X-Men shit. We know we're getting that Deadpool movie, which I'm super excited for. We've got X-Men 97. We know we're getting a Wolverine game, not this year, maybe in the next 2-3 years, because a lot of that stuff leaks. So it'll be really cool to see that. It seems like they're leaning into the X-Men stuff, but they're leaning into it the right way. They're not just cramming X-Men down everybody's throats. Even though I disagree with the whole Kamala Khan being a mutant thing now, that was kind of a backdoor way of introducing them, and it didn't. To me, it didn't make sense. other than the fact that they just didn't want to mess with the whole Inhumans thing, and they just didn't want to bother with it. But I think that they've now said that was a Kevin Feige choice, right? That was the big thing that came out this past week, is that Kevin Feige was the one from up top that said, she's going to be a mutant. We want her to be a mutant in the comics too, right?
Yeah. Just like this week came out that it was his idea to do that, and that kind of introduces a lot more of this idea that what we might be able to expect as far as like synergy between the comics and the movies in the future, and a lot of people are not too happy about that.
So this is the first time we've actually heard of a mandate coming from the very top of the movie department where it got out. And do you think this is going to become more of a regular thing where they want that synergy? Because I think it's been going on for a while. Personally,
it has been, yeah.
Star-Lord was not Star-Lord before James Gunn. We had Star-Lord, but the Star-Lord that everybody falls in love with in that first Guardians of the Galaxy movie that eventually becomes the Star-Lord in the comics is not the Star-Lord that we had for Annihilation.
Yeah. Even he's significantly different from obviously original Star-Lord, but he's also like MCU Star-Lord was significantly different from Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning Star-Lord from their run on Guardians. And then going forward, whenever Bendis took over on Guardians, he was the one that introduced that synergy and made Star-Lord act a lot more like movie Star-Lord. And it wasn't until after, when was it Al Ewing that was on Guardians, I think?
Yeah, he did a run. I think
one of the subsequent runs after Bendis, they like kind of shed that and went back to having things be more comic-y. We've had so many examples of it, and a lot of them don't stick at all. Some of them do, like the synergy to have the Nick Fury Jr. come in and take over for White Nick Fury.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
They had briefly Rhodey became American Patriot. I
remember
like
that
single arc or something. There's a lot, just, and sometimes it's something small as far as like down to just the costumes, like Shang-Chi having a costume that looks like the MCU costume instead of being his typical clothing.
Yeah, I don't mind that though. I don't necessarily mind
the deal. Yeah,
I don't think it's a big deal.
But in some cases they do change things quite a bit in the comics to match up with that. And I think the Kamala Khan thing was a really big one. But I will say it's not the one that I hate the most, because I know that originally Sana Amanat wanted for her to be a mutant, but they editorial basically mandated her to be an Inhuman because push for the Inhumans at the time.
Yeah, she came onto the scene. Her character was created around that time where the Inhumans, where it felt like Disney we're never getting the X-Men rights back. So let's just focus on the Inhumans. They're going to be our mutants moving forward. So when Kamala was introduced, she was an Inhuman. And now they've retconned that. And I know a lot of people were kind of very annoyed by that, including Gio, where it was... It was such a great story, and her origin was so firmly in place with that whole Terrigenesis thing. And I think it's kind of a damn shame that they decided to jettison it just for the sake of synergy. Who cares? I mean, it doesn't seem like a character like that. It's not gonna ruin the comics if you just go, okay, well, she's an Inhuman in the comics, and in the movie she's a mutant. Whatever. And it also kind of felt like change for the change's sake. It didn't need to happen.
Yep. No, it didn't. It didn't, and I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read the comics in a couple years. So I haven't read the comics with that. The main thing that I think was the biggest issue was that they like killed her off in an issue of Spider-Man.
Oh, that was terrible.
And it sucks because now, like, what I felt was obvious the whole time is now out in the open, that it wasn't Zeb Wells's idea at all. that it came down on high, and he just happened to be the one stuck with the short straw. And it seems like Zeb's constantly being stuck with the short straw on that movie, which really sucks for him. But yeah, he got kind of forced to do that, and that was a part that was bothersome to me because, again, I haven't read these stories, but just the idea that a character who was one of Marvel's biggest new properties in the past decade plus since she was introduced just gets ushered away, and not even in her own book. Like, she didn't even have her own series at the time. She was bouncing back on a series of miniseries at the time, and then they just had her die off in an issue of Spider-Man, where, as I understand it, she wasn't even a major part of that series. She was just kind of a tertiary character that, interacted with Peter at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part that it bothered me.
Yeah, it's not as egregious as Century Fallen Sun. We both know Century Fallen Sun because that that was terrible. But it is a minor quibble that I have with it, and I don't know. Something about it just doesn't sit right with me. That you've got kind of these bean counters, and Kevin Feige certainly, if anybody could pull their weight, it's him. Because I mean, jeez, he's been doing the MCU thing for over 10 years now, and it's been working for the most part. But I just think it's kind of weird because you have a lot of idiots online that they have these theories about like the whole Disney thing, and they make YouTube channels out of their stupid takes and stuff like that. And in a kind of a weird way, it validates a little bit of that, right? Because it's like, oh, it's all just corporate stuff. These comics are made to be a corporate thing just for the movies, which they kind of are, guys, at this point. They're mining these comics for ideas for these movies and TV shows at this point.
I was just looking at Feige's history because I was trying to see where he started. He was a production assistant on on Volcano and You've Got Mail back in the late 90s. Before he started getting into producing on, like, he was his first associate producer role was X-Men, and then his second one was Spider-Man. So not even just with the MCU, but with like Marvel movies before the MCU was even a twinkle in anyone's eye. I wanted to tell Kane that I let Jess know about your Reese's, and Jess said that he's glad you're happy. I'm hoping that you're happy, but Jess did respond, and to anyone who is wondering how Jess is doing, he is at the very least responding to our group chat. So
he's doing well.
He's okay in that manner. Shoot, what do we have next? The next thing coming is Deadpool Wolverine, right?
Yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah, we're in a slow year right now, which I think was the right idea.
I think it is. I think it is. Next year, what do we got next year? Because next year is far more interesting to me.
Fantastic.
Oh man.
Let me look real quick.
Look, if you think the Marvel versus DC guys are insufferable now, wait till next year when James Gunn drops Superman, and we have the Fantastic Four next year.
Feature films. Let's see.
I have so much hope for that James Gunn Superman movie. I want a good Superman movie so badly. I really do. One that understands who the character is.
Okay, so I got next year Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Blade are all currently scheduled for release next year.
Blade? Are we
gonna say Blade probably get pushed back again?
Are we getting Blade?
That one I think has restarted from the bottom up like twice.
Yeah.
But Fantastic Four, I'm feeling really, really positive about.
That could be good.
From what we've seen, I'm feeling good about it. Thunderbolts, I'm up in the air. Like I'm such a Thunderbolts fan, but like the movie itself, I don't know.
I feel like we got a better version of that already on the DC side with
Yeah,
James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
for real, man.
How are you going to top that? Is what I want to
Um,
know.
Captain
Because
America,
inevitably, that's what it's going to be compared to, right? It's going to be compared to James
oh yeah,
Gunn's.
absolutely. Captain America: Brave New World. I heard there was a really positive response for the footage that they showed at the
Yeah,
was it CinemaCon?
it was CinemaCon. It apparently blew the roof off the place. That everybody was like, "Oh, this looks really good."
So that I'm hoping that it does
Yeah.
well.
And there's been a lot of doubt with that movie because they've
Yeah,
gone back and forth on it. It's
yeah.
been through a rough production, so there's been a lot of, is it going to be good? Is it not going to be good? It apparently was in a rough state at one point, but apparently the footage they showed at CinemaCon it really did well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it does. Oh, and then we have, of course, Daredevil Born Again coming. And that one is an interesting one also because they scrapped that like
Yes, they did.
and just completely didn't they have like actual footage and they were like
Footage. They had 4 episodes in the can.
they're like no
They did like 3 or 4 episodes. Kevin Feige saw what they had said, what they had, and went, "Oh no, oh no!" Scrap the whole thing.
and then we started getting all the news that like the previous actors were coming back and stuff.
Yeah,
I think now they've got a lot of favor in their corner for that series.
yeah.
But I'm curious what they were trying to do previously.
Well, to give you a hint, apparently Karen Page was dead, and so was Foggy.
Hey,
That's way to start off Daredevil right in the gutter, right? Come on, really? Nobody in that writer's room thought this is a bad idea. People really like these characters. We're gonna really Alien 3 these people. Okay. I'm glad you got that reference.
I rewatched the entire like Alien and Predator franchise last month. You literally go into I call it Alien Cubed, but you go into the movie and it's just like everyone's dead. And I'm like, well,
Yes.
now what's the point of her spending all that time trying to rescue everyone in the previous movie?
Oh my god, they poochie the characters in that movie. You realize that, right? Like, the beginning of Alien 3 is terrible. It's horrible. That's what's his face. That's not he did Fight Club. That's not Fincher, right? Did Fincher do Alien 3 or did he do 4?
Yeah. That was Fincher 3.
Okay, yeah. He never talked to Fincher about Alien 3. It's a very sore subject.
I know he hates even the like director's cut. He's not fond of that at all.
Yeah.
But the director's cut is a much more solid film.
I wouldn't
just the fact that like it kind of invalidates so much that happened in the previous movie.
Oh my god, Alien 3. Oh, what a mess. Is that the one where she has a child? The alien baby? Like the half human? Or is that 4?
That's 4, I believe.
Man.
4 was a clone.
Was it? I haven't seen 4 in so long.
Or she was cloned, so I don't remember. I don't know. Even though I rewatched it like last month, now I'm like mixing up all the plot lines. You know when you watch like a bunch of movies in a row, you just start bleeding together.
Yeah, that happened to you with Uncut Bedtime Stories, Daddy. When you went on that Adam Sandler binge about 2 or 3 years ago. How was that, by the way? I'm surprised you came out of that unscathed. And here's another thing. Is his batting average better than does he hit more than he misses, in your opinion?
You know, it depends on what you as a viewer want from it. Because if you are a fan of his stupid movies, he does have a lot of good stupid movies.
Yes, he does.
But if you are going in there and you are not a fan of stupid comedy, you're going to be like, no, this is absolutely terrible. I would say, like, as someone who is a fan of most of his stupid movies, it's about 50-50.
Okay.
Like, about half of them I can stand and about half of them I can't.
Where do you put 50? Not 50 First Dates. 8 Crazy Nights on that list.
I have a like nostalgia for that one.
Oh, Riley.
I'm sorry, but I watched that one in the theaters, and it was
Oh my god.
the man. I will sometimes quote like Whitey and stuff in the. They're like, that's a technical foul.
Oh my god.
I love the scene where they start like singing and dancing. They do the ba beady beady bum bum.
Oh Jesus.
I will remind you of all the worst and best parts of that movie.
I try to forget it. Honest to God, I really do try to forget it.
There are a lot of great a lot of good like I was just rewatching Happy Gilmore the other night.
Classic.
It's
one
still
of his best films,
man. And they're doing a second one, and I guarantee like it's just gonna fucking suck.
They're gonna fuck it up. I'm almost certain they can't. You don't need to touch Happy Gilmore. I love Shooter McGavin. Shooter McGavin is such a dick in that movie, and it's awesome. I love his character. Yeah. I love Ben Stiller as the guy who works in the old folks' home. I watched it a few years ago, and I went, "Holy shit, that's Ben Stiller." I forgot he's in this.
That's another fun thing about a lot of the older, like the ones that came out when we were growing up, because you watch it as a kid and you don't really know who these people are. But then when you watch it again a little bit later, it's like, whoa, this person's here and this person's here. And it's not just like his normal group of buddies. You know, sometimes you get people like Ben Stiller popping up and you're like, I didn't even realize that was him.
You will go to sleep or I will put you to sleep. Or when the air vent falls on the lady. Hey, you know that Mr. guy? I think it just killed her. Oh god. No. I think Happy Gilmore is my favorite. It's a toss-up for me between Happy Gilmore and I think The Wedding Singer.
Wedding Singer is mine.
Oh, Wedding Singer's so good.
Wedding Singer's so good. It's like it is one of those dumb comedies, but it has so much heart behind it that it's hard to even consider it as one of those movies.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Him and Drew Barrymore actually have this weird chemistry that I think really works because they do it again in 50 First Dates.
Yeah,
and I really love 50 First Dates. I think it's a fun, cute date movie.
Was just saying this to my dad the other day. Literally, this conversation.
It works. It really does work, and I'm kind of wondering why they haven't capitalized on it again. Maybe another one.
They did one more movie together, and it didn't do well. But I will tell you that their chemistry was not the part that didn't work. It was just not like it was very generic. Let me find what the movie was real quick, but it was a very generic film.
He's been doing this stuff in the last few years for Netflix, and there was a basketball movie that was actually really good, and I'll give him credit for that. I'm like, wow, this turned out really well, but I haven't really paid attention to any of the other stuff. Oh, the Lizard one. The Lizard one wasn't bad either.
The part on that one, it should have been about 20 minutes shorter, and it did not need to be a musical.
Which one? The Lizard one?
Yeah, Leo.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Blended. The Blended was the other movie with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, and they go to Africa, and I guarantee you it was literally just him putting together a African vacation for him and his homies.
Well, that's kind of been what's been suggested over the last few years.
Yeah.
He just kind of does these movies for vacations and tax write-offs and stuff like that. That's what the Grown-Ups movies were. Right? That's what those were. He's a really interesting actor to me because whenever he takes on a serious role, I actually pay attention because I think he could be a really good actor when he does serious stuff. Punch Drunk Love, he's great in. He's great in Uncut Gems.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he takes those roles enough because it's not what the audience wants to see.
Did you watch Rain on Me?
Is that the movie where he's kind of homeless and he's with Don Cheadle? I think it's with Don Cheadle, right? Where he loses his family in 9/11. I think it's what it is.
That was another really good dramatic one he did. But the most recent one he did, Spaceman, I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
It was another dramatic one, and I've heard people who really liked it. Like I've seen people talk about how they thought it was really good, and I'm like, to me, it was boring. I don't know where you came from that you liked it, but good for you, I guess.
Well, he was trying to go for that Oscar run. with the Uncut Gems, but that kind of didn't pan out for him. I thought he was fantastic in that.
He threatened us with
Yes, he did.
With what's it called?
More shitty movies if he
He
didn't win
said,
the
if I
Oscar.
don't get it, I'm gonna do Dick or Jack and Jill 2.
Ooh.
And he still didn't do Jack and Jill 2. Jack and Jill, definitely one of the worst.
Ooh.
Definitely one of the worst. The other recent ones he did, you are so not invited to my bat mitzvah. That's the one where his daughter is the main character.
Okay, I heard that wasn't bad.
That was pretty cute. Like that one, I watched it with my family, and we were like, this is a good little coming of age for teenagers and stuff. Like not too bad.
You know, I like Pixels. Not Pixels, Bedtime Stories. I thought Bedtime Stories was actually a pretty fun kids movie.
It's cute.
Where would you put Click? I like Click.
Click is very divisive. And I'd put it, yeah, a lot of people do not like it. I think it's because it takes such a drastic turn from being like funny to being like really dark. Yeah, by the end of the movie, it's sad. It's very dark. I put it more in the upper half of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like I know a lot of people were not happy about that one. What is this? Yeah. Oh, it's a short film. Never mind.
You know, Click starts, like you said, very lighthearted, and then towards the end, it's like, oh, we are watching this guy on his deathbed regretting a whole bunch of stuff he's done. It ends happily, obviously, because he goes back in time and stuff, and
yeah,
he kind of starts enjoying life a lot more. But it takes a dark turn there when you figure out, oh, walking is death.
Yeah,
in this movie.
This is something that I've said I need to do, the Sandler tier list.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that I need to do is create the actual tiers and know what I want to call them, because it's not just a matter. It's not so simple as just like bad, okay, good. Like there's very specific, like this movie's good because I'm nostalgic for it. This movie is so bad that I want to bleach my eyes. Like those are more like the tiers.
Where does Little Nicky fall on this list?
I was not a fan of Little Nicky. But hold on, give me 1 second.
Little Nicky's terrible, Riley. He's gonna pull out a Little Nicky Blu-ray. I will leave this stream. I'm letting you on the list.
Better VHS.
Why?
I found it in the trash.
Yeah, that checks out. That makes a lot of sense.
There was
Hold on. I have to know. Were you dumpster diving?
No.
What's going on?
No. It was a box of VHS tapes and then a box of books, and they were next to a trash can.
Mm-hmm.
And because they did, like, the trash can was full, and I looked down and I was like, oh my gosh. And there were other tapes, like Batman 1989 was in there. And so as I was digging, I saw Little Nicky, and I was like, oh my God. It was the only Sandler one that was there, so I had to take it.
So you were more excited for this than a VHS copy of Batman 89?
No, I was way more excited about it than 89, but we weren't talking about Batman 89. We were talking about Little Nicky.
Okay. All right. Got it. Jesus. Why would you do that?
This is not good, though. And this one, I only watched the entirety of the movie for the first time like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I remember my friends when this came out, like when we were in school, my like friends thinking this was the funniest shit ever. And I'm like, would I have thought the same?
Probably.
I really hope I wouldn't. I'm going to grab the other VHS tapes just to appease, and then we can start like rapping.
All right. Sounds good. I can't believe you found it. Well, that's actually accurate. It should be in the trash. Little Nicky is terrible.
The other stuff I got, I promise you, much better. So here's the Batman 1989.
Ooh.
Pretty decent condition, not perfect, but
my dad had a copy of that as a kid. But you know, with DVD and everything, he got rid of a bunch of his VHS stuff. Wow, Roger Rabbit.
So I got Who Framed Roger Rabbit and An American Tail.
Oh, an American Tail. That's a classic.
A really good cover to this one too. I really like the way it looks. So those are the only ones. I do still have a VHS player, and I actually have a lot more tapes. That's why I wouldn't have grabbed them, but I have a box of tapes that I got the player and a bunch of tapes from my grandmother when she was selling her house, and they were doing like garage sale and just getting rid of everything. And then she was like, anything that you want, you can take. So I took a lot of the like classics that she had.
That's awesome. All right, man. I'm gonna start wrapping this up. I'm sorry.
Let's wrap this one up. I appreciate the impromptu discussion about. I'm always down to discuss X-Men related stuff, and this whole show has just like reinvigorated. So I'm just super excited to like be able to talk about X-Men seriously with people again. But I hope that you get to watch the last couple episodes and enjoy them despite knowing spoilers and stuff like that.
That you have no idea how much that annoyed me. That I was like, oh, well, damn.
Especially last week's episode, that is not like seeing it play out was so just the experience was very very crazy of an experience. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I'm sorry that you got spoiled on that. But let me, before I forget, do the plug one more time for InStockTrades.com. Any of the X-Men comics that the shows are based on, you're going to find them over at InStockTrades.com. Really fantastic deals, high percentages off. Sometimes they even go higher than 50% if they're on the red tag sales. Free shipping after $50, loyalty discount adding 2% off. The free shipping is in the US, of course, and they do ship internationally. Great customer service as well. And at some point, we'll do a gift card giveaway, $50 at some point. So thank you so much to InStock Trades for sponsoring the show as always, and thank you everyone in the chat for watching the show. Is there anything you wanted to say before we sign off?
No, not really. I don't have anything really to promote or anything like that. Just have a good night, everybody.
All right. You can find me at the Omnibus Collector on whatever socials you're on, and everybody have a great night. Thank you so much, y'all, for watching. We'll see you on the next one.